The lights of orbital station Kepler 9 never turned off. Day and night meant nothing in space, so the station lived in permanent twilight. Shops stayed open. Bars never closed. Creatures from 100 different worlds walked the metal corridors, buying and selling and arguing in languages that no translator could fully capture. Yuna liked the night shift. Fewer people meant fewer problems. She walked her patrol route through the lower market district, her boots clicking against the floor plates. At 28 years old, she had spent 6 years working security on this station. She knew every shortcut, every blind spot, every bar where trouble liked to start. Tonight was quiet. A few drunk traders stumbled past her. A cleaning robot hummed along the walls. Yuna checked her watch. 4 more hours until her shift ended. She stopped at a food stall and bought a cup of hot noodles. The vendor, a small creature with too many eyes, knew her order by heart. Yuna ate standing up, watching the crowd thin out as the station's artificial night deepened. That was when the Velthri arrived. She heard them before she saw them. Heavy footsteps. Deep voices. The sound of lesser species moving out of the way. Yuna set down her noodles and watched. The Velthri were hard to miss. They stood 8 feet tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 muscular arms. Their faces were broad, their eyes set deep under heavy brows. They moved like they owned every room they entered. And in most places they did. There were 5 of them, but one walked in front. He wore golden bands around all 4 of his wrists. His chest was bare, showing ritual scars that told stories of victories. He looked around the station with the expression of someone visiting a dirty zoo. Yuna knew who he was. Everyone knew. Prince Taiho of the Velthri Dominion. Undefeated champion of the Crimson Circuit. The greatest warrior his species had produced in 3 generations. He was here for some trade negotiation. Politics that Yuna did not care about. What she cared about was the way his guards shoved a merchant out of their path, sending the small alien crashing into a display of goods. Yuna walked over. She helped the merchant up, then turned to face the Velthri guards. "Station rules," she said, keeping her voice flat. "No pushing civilians." The guard who had done the pushing looked down at her. Way down. Yuna barely reached his chest. He laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "Move aside, little creature." Yuna did not move. "Apologize to the merchant. Then we have no problem." Prince Taiho had stopped walking. He turned around, curious. His deep-set eyes studied Yuna with sudden interest. "What species is this?" he asked one of his advisors. "Human, my prince. From Earth, a death world." Taiho's eyes widened slightly. "Ah, the famous death worlders." He walked closer, and Yuna had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "I have heard stories about your kind. They say your planet tried to kill you every day. They say you evolved to survive anything." "They say a lot of things," Yuna replied. Taiho smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "They also say you are good fighters. Natural killers. But I look at you and I see nothing special. Small. Soft. No claws. No armor. No natural weapons." He leaned down, bringing his face closer to hers. "How exactly do your people fight?" "We try not to," Yuna said. The prince laughed. His warriors laughed with him. The sound echoed through the market. "She tries not to fight," Taiho said to his companions. "The mighty Death Worlder avoids combat." He shook his head, still amused. "You disappoint me, human. I expected more from your reputation." Yuna shrugged. "Sorry to disappoint." Now, about that apology to the merchant. The humor left Taiho's face. He straightened up, all 4 arms crossing over his chest. "You dare make demands of me? Do you know who I am? I have killed warriors from 12 different species in single combat. I have never been defeated, never been touched. My people consider fighting to be the highest art form, and I am the greatest artist alive." "Good for you," Yuna said. The merchant is still waiting. For a long moment, Taiho stared at her. Then something shifted in his expression. Interest. Real interest. "I will apologize," he said slowly. "If you agree to a duel." The market had gone silent. Everyone was watching now. "I do not duel," Yuna said. "A friendly match, then. First blood. Traditional rules. I want to see how a Death Worlder fights." His eyes gleamed with excitement. "I want a real fight. Not these ritual dances I perform against lesser warriors. Show me what your species can do." Yuna looked at him for a long moment. She thought about the paperwork. She thought about the diplomatic incident. She thought about Commander Dohyun's face when he heard about this. "No," she said. Taiho blinked. Clearly, he was not used to hearing that word. "No, no, I do not fight for sport. I do not fight for entertainment. I do not fight to prove anything to anyone." Yuna turned to the merchant. "He will not apologize. File a complaint with station administration. I will support your claim." She started to walk away. Taiho's voice stopped her. "Is this how Death Worlders earn their reputation? By running away?" Yuna paused. She did not turn around. "We earn our reputation by surviving. And the best way to survive a fight is to not have one." She kept walking. Behind her, she heard Taiho laughing again, but this time there was an edge to it. The sound of wounded pride. Over the next few days, the rumors spread. The Velthari Prince told everyone who would listen that humans were cowards, that their Death World reputation was just propaganda, that he had challenged one personally and she had run away like prey. Other species started testing the human crew. Small insults, shoulder checks in corridors, comments about soft skin and weak bones. Nothing Yuna could officially act on, but the message was clear. The Velthari Prince had given everyone permission to disrespect humanity. Yuna reported to her shift, did her job, and said nothing. She had survived worse than insults. Earth had taught her that. But she watched. She waited. She knew that Taiho was not done. He wanted a real fight. Sooner or later, he would find a way to get one. She just hoped he was ready for what that actually meant. Jiho was not a fighter. He had never wanted to be one. While his older sister Yuna had joined security forces, Jiho had chosen medicine. He liked helping people. He liked the clean white walls of the medical bay. He liked that his job was to fix things, not break them. At 24 years old, he was one of the youngest medics on Kepler 9, but also one of the most skilled. His hands were steady. His mind was calm under pressure. Patients liked him because he talked to them like people, not problems. That night, he was walking back to his quarters after a double shift. The corridors in the maintenance section were narrow and poorly lit. Most crew members avoided them. But Jiho had learned that this route cut 15 minutes off his walk home. He was thinking about sleep when he heard the footsteps behind him, heavy, multiple sets. Moving faster than casual walking, Jiho's heart started beating harder. He walked faster. The footsteps behind him matched his pace. Human. The voice was deep. Velthari. Jiho kept walking. Human. Stop. He reached a junction in the corridor and turned left. 3 Velthari warriors stood in his path. He spun around. 2 more blocked the way he had come. 5 total. All of them young. All of them wearing the golden wristbands of noble houses. Jiho pressed his back against the wall. His mouth had gone dry. "Can I help you?" He managed to say. The largest Velthari stepped forward. He had fresh scars on his face and arms. a young warrior, eager to prove himself. "You are the security officer's brother," he said. "The coward who refused our prince." "I am a medic." "I have nothing to do with that. You are human." "That is enough." The warrior cracked his knuckles. All four fists. "Our prince says Deathworlders are weaklings. That your reputation is a lie. We want to test this theory." Jiho looked at the 5 warriors surrounding him. Each of them was twice his size. Each of them had 4 arms. Each of them had been trained to fight since childhood. "This is not a fair test," he said quietly. The warriors laughed. "Fair?" The leaders seemed amused. "We do not want fair. We want to see a human fight. Show us what your species can do." Jiho closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about Yuna, about the things she had taught him when they were growing up on Earth, about the lessons their father had drilled into both of them before the colony ship left their homeworld. Rule 1. Avoid the fight if you can. He could not avoid this. Rule 2. If you cannot avoid it, end it fast. He could not win against 5 Velthari warriors. But maybe he could end this fast enough to survive. He opened his eyes. His hand found the fire extinguisher mounted on the wall behind him. The Velthari leader reached for him. With his upper right arm, Jiho moved. He grabbed the fire extinguisher, ripped it from its mount, and swung it as hard as he could at the warrior's knee. The metal cylinder connected with a sound like a hammer hitting meat. The warrior screamed and fell. Jiho did not wait. He sprayed the extinguisher into the face of the nearest warrior, blinding him with white foam. Then he ran. He made it 10 steps before something hit him in the back. He went down hard, sliding across the metal floor. Pain exploded through his body. He tried to get up, but a massive foot pressed down on his spine. "Coward," the warrior above him growled. "You fight with tools and tricks. No honor. Humans do not care about honor," Jiho gasped. "We care about survival." The foot pressed harder. Jiho could not breathe. Dark spots appeared at the edges of his vision. Then a voice came from the end of the corridor. "Station security. Step away from the human." The pressure on his back disappeared. Jiho heard running footsteps, shouting, the warriors arguing with security officers. By the time he managed to roll over and sit up, the Velthari were being escorted away, and a medic was kneeling beside him. "Jiho? Can you hear me? We need to get you to the medical bay." He nodded weakly. At least 1 rib was broken. Maybe 2. His back felt like it was on fire, but he was alive. 2 hours later, Yuna stood beside his bed in the medical bay. Her face was calm, but Jiho knew his sister well enough to see the cold fury in her eyes. It was the same look she got when she was about to do something dangerous. "I am fine," he said. His voice was weak. The painkillers made everything feel distant and fuzzy. 3 cracked ribs. Some bruising. "I will heal." Yuna said nothing. "I used a fire extinguisher. Like Dad taught us." Jiho tried to smile. "You would have been proud." "I am proud." Yuna's voice was flat, controlled. "You did everything right. So why do you look like you are about to start a war?" Yuna finally looked at him. Really looked at him. Her eyes were hard, because they touched my family. It was just some young warriors. They were trying to impress their prince. Do not do anything stupid. I am never stupid. Yuna squeezed his hand gently. "Rest. Heal. I will handle this. Yuna, promise me you will not do anything that gets you killed." She was quiet for a long moment. "I promise. I will not do anything that gets me killed." She left the medical bay. Jiho stared at the ceiling, worry mixing with the painkillers in his blood. His sister had made a very specific promise. She had not promised to avoid violence. She had not promised to stay calm. She had only promised not to die. That was not comforting. The next day, the station council held an emergency meeting. The Valkyrie demanded an apology for the warrior Jiho had injured. The humans demanded justice for the attack on their crew member. Prince Taiho sat in the center of the chamber, looking bored. This was all beneath him. Small politics. Meaningless conflicts. Then Yuna walked in. The room went quiet. Taiho sat up straighter, his interest suddenly sharp. Yuna walked to the center of the chamber. She looked at the council members. She looked at the Valkyrie delegation. Finally, she looked at Taiho. "You want to fight," she said. Her voice carried clearly through the silent room. "A real fight. To test if humans are worthy of our reputation." Taiho smiled slowly. "I do. Your warriors attacked my brother. An unarmed medic. 5 against 1. They were eager. Young warriors often are. They are cowards." Yuna did not raise her voice, but somehow the words hit harder than shouting. "They attacked someone who could not fight back. That is not strength. That is fear." Taiho's smile disappeared. "I accept your challenge," Yuna continued. "Full contact. No weapons. Standard arena rules. Just you and me." The chamber erupted in noise. Council members shouting. Valkyrie warriors cheering. Human crew members looking worried. Taiho raised a hand, and silence fell. "You accept?" He sounded genuinely surprised. "You understand what you are agreeing to. I have killed in the arena before. I do not plan to kill you, but accidents happen." Yuna met his eyes without flinching. "Bring your accidents. Bring your skills. Bring everything you have." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to something almost gentle. "I will show you why real fights end fast." The council approved the duel for the following day. Yuna walked out of the chamber without looking back. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. She had work to do. The arena on Kepler 9 was built for moments like this. A circular platform made of reinforced metal, surrounded by rising seats that could hold 5,000 spectators. Today, every seat was full. Creatures from dozens of species had come to watch the impossible, a human challenging the greatest Valkyrie warrior alive. The betting odds were displayed on every screen in the station. Taiho was favored 50 to 1. Some gambling houses were not even accepting bets on Yuna to win. It was considered a waste of money. In the fighter preparation rooms beneath the arena, Yuna sat alone. She wore simple clothes, a tight gray shirt, black pants, bare feet. No armor, no padding. Nothing that would slow her down. Commander Do-yoon had visited her an hour ago. He had not tried to stop her. He had simply unlocked certain restrictions in her personnel file and told her to do what she needed to do. Then he left. Yuna closed her eyes and breathed slowly. In and out. In and out. Her heart rate dropped. Her muscles relaxed. Her mind became quiet and clear. She thought about Earth, about the forests where she had grown up, about the animals that hunted there, the wolves, the bears, the things that had no names but left tracks in the mud and blood on the trees. Humans had not conquered Earth by being the strongest or the fastest or the deadliest. They had conquered it by being efficient, by understanding one simple truth. Every second a fight continues is a second something can go wrong. The door opened. A station official told her it was time. Yuna stood up and walked toward the arena. The crowd roared when Taiho entered from the opposite side. He wore traditional Valkyrie fighting garments, loose pants of deep red fabric, his chest bare to show his scars, his forearms decorated with golden bands. He raised all 4 fists to the crowd and basked in their cheers. Then Yuna stepped onto the platform. The noise faltered. People had expected something more impressive. Instead, they saw a small human woman with no decorations, no display, no presence. She walked to her position and stood there, arms at her sides, face blank. Taiho smiled at her across the platform. "I am glad you came. For a moment, I thought you might run again." Yuna said nothing. "I will try not to hurt you too badly," Taiho continued. "I want this to last. I want to study how you fight. Learn your techniques." He rolled his shoulders, all four arms loosening up. "When this is over, I will have added human combat to my collection of styles. Your people should be honored." Yuna still said nothing. The referee, a neutral alien from a species with no stake in the outcome, stepped to the center of the platform. He explained the rules. No weapons. No strikes to kill. The fight would continue until one fighter could not continue or surrendered. Both fighters signaled their understanding. The referee stepped back. Begin. Taiho immediately dropped into a fighting stance. His people called it the flowering blade. It was a defensive position, all four arms positioned to block or strike in any direction. It was designed to be beautiful, to show control, to invite the opponent to attack first so the Valkyrie could demonstrate their superior skill. Yuna did not take a stance. She walked forward. The crowd murmured. This was strange. Wrong. Every species had fighting stances. Every warrior in the galaxy knew how to position themselves for combat. Yuna just walked. Steady. Calm. Like she was crossing a room to get a glass of water. Taiho held his position, confused. Was this a trick? Some kind of human strategy? He decided to test her. He threw a quick strike with his upper right arm, not meant to land, just to see how she would react. Yuna did not block. She did not dodge. She stepped inside his reach. Her hand caught his wrist. Her body twisted. Before Taiho understood what was happening, she had pulled his arm straight, locked her elbow against his, and pushed. The crack was loud enough to hear in the back rows. Taiho screamed. His arm bent the wrong way at the elbow, the joint destroyed. 3 seconds had passed since the fight began. He tried to swing at her with his other arms, but Yuna was already moving. She dropped low, kicked his knee from the side. Another crack. Taiho fell. 5 seconds. He tried to push himself up, but Yuna was on him. She hooked her arm around his throat, locked her legs around his torso, and squeezed. 7 seconds. The arena was silent. Completely silent. 5,000 spectators had forgotten how to breathe. Taiho struggled. His 3 working arms grabbed at her, pulled at her, tried to break her grip. But Yuna had positioned herself where he could not reach. She was attached to his back like a parasite, her arm crushing his windpipe, her legs preventing him from rolling. His movements slowed. His vision started to darken. Yuna spoke softly, her mouth close to his ear. You wanted a real fight. She squeezed a little harder. Taiho's good arm stopped struggling. Real fights are not about honor. Not about beauty. Not about showing off. His body went limp. He was still conscious, but barely. No air. No strength left. Real fights are about going home alive. And the best way to go home alive is to end the fight before your enemy can hurt you. She loosened her grip slightly. Just enough for him to breathe. Just enough for him to hear her clearly. Every second a fight continues is a second something can go wrong. A lucky hit. A mistake. An accident. She released his throat entirely but kept him pinned to the ground. So we do not let fights continue. We end them. Fast. She stood up and stepped away. Taiho lay on the platform, one arm broken, one knee destroyed, gasping for air. The greatest warrior of his generation. Undefeated in over 100 formal duels. Defeated in 7 seconds by a human woman who had not even taken a fighting stance. The referee recovered first. He hurried to check on Taiho, then raised his voice. The fight is over. The human wins. The silence continued for 3 more heartbeats. Then someone in the human section started clapping. Others joined. Soon, the entire human contingent was on their feet, cheering and shouting. The Valkyrie section remained frozen. Warriors who had trained their entire lives to fight stared at the platform with wide eyes. They did not understand what they had just seen. It violated everything they believed about combat. Yuna walked off the platform without looking back. She did not raise her arms in victory. She did not acknowledge the crowd. She simply left, as calmly as she had arrived. Behind her, medical staff rushed to help Taiho. His warriors finally broke from their shock and hurried to their prince's side. Taiho stared at the ceiling of the arena. His body hurt more than anything he had ever experienced. But worse than the physical pain was the confusion, the humiliation, the complete destruction of everything he thought he knew. 7 seconds. All his training, all his skill, all his victories. 7 seconds. He had asked for a real fight. Now he understood why real fights ended fast. The political storm hit 3 hours after the fight ended. The Valkyrie Dominion sent an official message to Station Command. Their prince had been humiliated. Their warrior traditions had been mocked. They demanded satisfaction. They demanded punishment for the human who had used such dishonorable tactics. Commander Do-Yoon sat in his office and read the message twice. Then he deleted it without responding. The trade negotiations were suspended. Valkyrie merchants began packing their goods, threatening to leave the station permanently. Other species watched and waited to see which side would win this political battle. In her quarters, Yuna sat on her bed and stared at the wall. She was not worried about the politics. Commander Do-Yoon would handle that. She was thinking about Taiho's face when she had released him. Not anger. Not hatred. Confusion. The complete breakdown of everything he believed. That look stayed with her. Jiho visited her that evening, still moving carefully because of his healing ribs. "You should see the station forums," he said, sitting down in her only chair. "Every species is talking about the fight. Someone uploaded video. It has already been shared across half the galaxy. I do not care about that. You made history, sister. The first human to defeat a Valkyrie prince in single combat. I did not make history. I made a point." Yuna finally looked at him. "They attacked you because they thought humans were weak. Now they know better." Jiho nodded slowly. "The Valkyrie warriors have not left their quarters since the fight. No more incidents. No more testing the humans." He paused. "Are you okay?" Yuna considered the question. "I broke a man's arm, destroyed his knee, nearly choked him to death." She sighed. "I feel nothing. That worries me. You did what you had to do." "I know. That is what worries me." They sat in silence for a while. Brother and sister, far from home, dealing with the consequences of being human in a galaxy that did not understand them. The next morning, Yuna received a message through official channels. Prince Taiho requested a private meeting. No guards, no witnesses, just conversation. Station security advised against it. Commander Do-Yoon left the decision to her. Yuna agreed to the meeting, but insisted it happen in a neutral location with security cameras running. Taiho arrived at the small conference room walking slowly. His right arm was in a regeneration cast, a clear shell filled with medical gel that would rebuild his shattered elbow over the next few weeks. He moved stiffly, his damaged knee supported by a brace. He looked like a warrior who had finally lost a battle. Yuna was already waiting. She stood when he entered but did not approach him. Taiho lowered himself carefully into a chair across the table from her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "I am not here to threaten you," he said finally. His voice was quieter than before, thoughtful. "I am not here to demand another fight or seek revenge." "Then why are you here?" Taiho looked at his broken arm. I have been fighting since I was a child. 30 years of training. Thousands of hours of practice. I mastered every form of Velthary combat. I learned the fighting styles of 12 other species. He looked up at her. You defeated me in 7 seconds. I know. How? The question came out almost desperate. How is that possible? My reflexes are faster than yours. I am stronger. I have 4 arms. I have trained for 30 years. How did you win? Yuna sat down across from him. She thought about how to explain something that was so obvious to her, but seemed impossible to him. Tell me about your world, she said. Taiho blinked at the change of subject. Velthar Prime? It is a paradise. Low gravity. Perfect climate. No natural predators. My people have lived there for 1,000,000 years in peace. And combat? How did your people develop their fighting styles? It began as sport, recreation, a way to test strength and skill without killing. Taiho's eyes grew distant. Over generations, it became art, philosophy, a warrior's dance. The longer a fight lasts, the more beautiful it is. The most respected duels in our history lasted hours. Yuna nodded slowly. Now let me tell you about Earth. She leaned forward. Our world tried to kill us every day. We evolved in an environment filled with predators that were faster than us, stronger than us, better armed than us. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor, just soft skin and clever brains. Taiho listened, his confusion slowly changing to something else. Interest, understanding. The animals that hunted us did not fight for sport. They did not care about honor or beauty. They attacked to kill. And if they got their teeth into you, you died. Yuna's voice was steady, factual. So we learned. We learned that the only way to survive a fight was to end it before it really started. But your techniques, the way you moved, there was no wasted motion, because wasted motion gets you killed. Every movement that does not help you win is a movement that lets your enemy hurt you. Taiho looked at his broken arm again. I offered you a test strike, a traditional opening move. I expected you to block or dodge. Your people block and dodge because fighting is a game to you. To us, fighting means someone is trying to kill us. Yuna shook her head. When someone reaches toward me, I do not think about scoring points or showing skill. I think about survival. And the fastest path to survival was through your arm. Silence filled the room. The Ice Ages, Yuna continued quietly. The plagues, the wars, the predators that ate our children, the volcanoes and earthquakes and tsunamis. My species survived all of that, and we survived it by learning one simple lesson. She looked directly into his eyes. Hesitation kills. Every second you spend fighting is a second something can go wrong. So we do not let fights become fights. We end them, immediately, brutally, permanently. Taiho sat back in his chair. For the first time since she had met him, he looked genuinely humbled. I thought your people were primitive, he said slowly. I thought your combat style was crude and ugly. But it is not primitive, is it? It is efficient. It is survival. My entire culture is built around the idea that fighting is beautiful, that warriors are artists. Taiho shook his head. We were playing games while your people were fighting for their existence. Yuna did not respond. There was nothing to add. Taiho pushed himself carefully to his feet. He looked down at her with an expression she could not read. Respect, maybe. Or something close to it. Thank you, he said. For the lesson, what will you do now? Taiho thought about it. I will heal. I will think. And I will try to understand what it means to fight for survival instead of glory. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. Your brother, the medic who fought my warriors with a fire extinguisher. Yuna tensed slightly. What about him? He fights like you. No honor. No form. Just survival. The ghost of a smile crossed Taiho's face. I think I understand your species now. Every one of you is a warrior. Not because you want to be, but because your world gave you no choice. He left the room, moving slowly on his damaged leg. Yuna sat alone in the empty conference room for a long time, thinking about paradise worlds and death worlds, about art and survival, about what it cost to be human in a galaxy that had never known fear. 3 weeks passed. The political crisis faded into quiet tension. The Valkyrie merchants stayed. The trade negotiations resumed. Life on Kepler 9 returned to something like normal. Taiho's arm had healed enough to remove the cast. His knee would take longer, but he could walk without the brace now. He spent most of his time in his quarters, watching footage of human combat. Not mocking it anymore. Studying it. Yuna continued her security patrols. The other species treated her differently now. With caution. With respect. Sometimes with fear. She preferred it when they had underestimated her. The pirate attack came without warning. Alarms screamed through the station at 3 in the morning. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Commander Dohyun's voice came over the speakers, calm but urgent. All hands, battle stations. Unknown vessels have breached the outer perimeter. Boarding parties detected in sections 7, 12, and 15. Security forces respond immediately. Yuna was running before the announcement finished. She grabbed her equipment from her locker and headed for section 12. It was the civilian housing area. Families lived there. Children. The pirates had chosen their targets well. Section 12 was chaos when she arrived. Smoke filled the corridors. Emergency lights cast everything in blood-red shadows. Bodies lay on the floor. Station security officers who had arrived first and been overwhelmed. Yuna moved through the smoke, her training taking over. She found the first group of pirates in a residential corridor, dragging civilians from their quarters. 6 of them. Armed with energy weapons and blades. She did not announce herself. She did not give warnings. The first pirate died with a broken neck before he knew she was there. The second managed to turn around and got a knife in his throat. The third raised his weapon, but Yuna was already inside his guard, twisting the gun from his hands and using it to shoot the fourth. 8 seconds. 4 dead. The remaining 2 pirates ran. Yuna let them go. She had civilians to protect Dodd. She guided the survivors to an emergency shelter and sealed the door behind them. Then she went looking for more enemies. The battle for Section 12 lasted an hour. Yuna fought through corridors and compartments, taking down pirates wherever she found them. She was not alone. Other security officers joined her. Human and alien fighting side by side. Then she entered Cargo Bay 7 and found Taiho. He stood in the center of the bay, surrounded by 8 pirates. His arm was not fully healed. His knee was still weak. He had no weapon, but he was fighting. A Valkyrie fighting for real looked different than a Valkyrie fighting for sport. There was no beauty in his movements now. No art, just survival. He moved like someone who had finally understood what combat truly meant. But 8 against 1 was too many. Even for him. Yuna saw the pirate behind Taiho, the one he could not see, raising a knife to strike at his unprotected back. She did not think. She moved. She crossed the cargo bay faster than she thought possible. She put herself between Taiho and the blade. The knife went into her shoulder instead of his spine. Pain exploded through her body, but she was already moving. She grabbed the pirate's knife hand, twisted, and drove the blade up into his throat. He fell. Taiho had finished the others by the time she turned around. 7 bodies lay on the cargo bay floor. He was breathing hard, covered in blood that was mostly not his own. "You saved me," he said. Yuna pulled the knife from her shoulder and dropped it. Blood ran down her arm. We fight together now. That is what all eyes do. I thought humans did not believe in honor. This is not honor. She pressed her hand against the wound to slow the bleeding. This is survival. You die. I lose a strong fighter. I need every advantage I can get. Taiho stared at her. Then, slowly, he started to laugh. Not the mocking laughter from their first meeting. Something real. Something that understood. You are a strange species, he said. We are an efficient species. Yuna looked around at the dead pirates. More will come. Can you still fight? Taiho raised all four fists. I can fight. Good. Stay behind me. Watch my back. Do not die. They fought through 3 more engagements together before station security finally pushed the pirates back to their ships. When the all-clear sounded, Yuna was barely standing. Blood loss had made her dizzy. Her shoulder felt like it was on fire. Jiho found her in the medical bay an hour later. He stitched her wound himself, his hands as steady as always. Taiho came to see me, he said while he worked. He said you took a knife for him. He was going to die. I needed him alive. He did not believe that was the real reason. Jiho tied off the last stitch. He said he finally understands humans now. He said we fight without honor, but we would die for each other without hesitation. Yuna was quiet for a moment. That is not a contradiction. I know. I told him that. He seemed confused. Despite the pain, Yuna smiled slightly. His species has a lot to learn. Taiho returned to Velther Prime 2 days later. Before he left, he requested one final meeting with Yuna. They met in the same conference room where they had talked after the duel. He looked different now. Not just physically healed. Something in his eyes had changed. He had seen real combat. He had killed to survive, not to prove himself. He had been saved by someone he once considered inferior. I am returning home, he said. But I carry something with me that I did not bring. Your damaged pride? Yuna asked. Taiho smiled. Understanding. He reached out with his healed arm, offering his hand in the human gesture of respect. I asked for a real fight because I thought I knew what that meant. I thought it meant skill against skill. Art against art. 2 warriors dancing until one fell. Yuna took his hand. You showed me what real fighting actually is, Taiho continued. Survival. Efficiency. The understanding that every second counts because the universe does not care about honor or beauty. He squeezed her hand once, then let go. I will tell my people what I learned. I will show them the footage of our duel. And I will warn them. Warn them about what? Taiho moved toward the door. At the threshold, he turned back. I will warn them not to provoke the Deathworlders. Not because humans are cruel or aggressive or evil, but because you fight like something that learned long ago that the only good fight is the one already over. He bowed, a gesture of deep respect in Velthri culture. Yuna bowed back. If you ever need all eyes, she said, humanity will remember that you stood beside us. And if the Velthri ever face a threat we cannot handle alone, Taiho replied, we will call for the humans. Not because you are honorable or beautiful or noble, but because you win. He left. Yuna watched him go. Later that night, she stood on the observation deck and looked out at the stars. Jiho found her there, 2 cups of hot tea in his hands. What are you thinking about? He asked, handing her a cup. Yuna sipped the tea. It was warm and bitter, exactly how she liked it. I am thinking about Earth, she said. About all the things that tried to kill us. The ice ages and the predators and the diseases and the wars. About how we survived all of it by learning to fight fast and dirty and without mercy. Jiho stood beside her, looking at the same stars. And what conclusion did you reach? Una was quiet for a long moment. The galaxy is full of species that evolved on paradise worlds. Species that never knew fear. That never learned what it means to fight for survival. She finished her tea and set down the cup. They think their pretty fighting styles and ritual combat make them strong. But strength is not about how you fight. It is about why you fight. She looked at her brother. We fight because the universe taught us that the alternative is extinction. And now we have left our death world and spread among the stars. And every species we meet will eventually learn the same lesson we did. What lesson is that? Una turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there, Taiho was carrying a message back to his people. A warning about the Deathworlders. A story about a human woman who had defeated their greatest warrior in 7 seconds. She smiled slightly. The lesson is simple, brother. Real fights end fast. And humanity has been fighting real fights since before we came down from the trees. She put her arm around Jiho's shoulders, careful of his healing ribs. Let the galaxy learn that lesson. We have nothing to fear from species that fight for sport. We survived Earth. Everything else is easy. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Two humans far from home, but never truly far from what made them, who they were. Survivors. Fighters, Deathworlders, and proud of it.